Hi, welcome to the Antique Trader, and we have a very special program for you. We're here at Snug Harbor in Staten Island, and we're going to be showing you the George Way exhibit. And when we come back, we'll introduce you to Mr. Way himself. Stay tuned, don't go away. Hi, we're back here with Mr. Way. And Mr. Way, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I work in a supermarket. I work at Pathmark on Staten Island for 30 years, and I've been a collector for 37 years.
What makes somebody like you want to collect all these odds and ends?
Well, I love beautiful things, and I love to be surrounded by beautiful things, and I love to share my beautiful things with the public.
How did you begin collecting?
At the age of 15, I found a chair in my local church, and I bought it for $50, and I ended up selling it years later because it turned out to be a reproduction. I taught myself period furniture at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and I started collecting ever since.
What interests a boy 15 years old to start collecting antiques?
I don't know. My parents must have thought I was crazy when I fell in love with a chair instead of a car. But now it's a whole different ballgame because I built one of the best collections in America.
And how big is your collection? How extensive?
Too big. I mean, I've grown out of my apartment practically, but most of it's here for display for everybody to look at.
Okay, now you're going to show us what it is that you start. This is the beginning of his collection. And I'll give you George Way.
Thank you. This is called the Elizabethan room. We have a wonderful Elizabethan cupboard. These are called cupboards because the cupboard, they used to display their silver. And when you had a cupboard of this magnitude in someone's home at that time, it showed that you were very important and only you came from a very wealthy family. Over here we have a beautiful Elizabethan bed sporting the coat of arms of Queen Elizabeth I. I don't know if Elizabeth slept here or not. Maybe she did. Who knows? Furniture at this time was very heavy. It was made out of oak, and it's sporting these beautiful bulbous carved turnings, very massive. We have a beautiful chair over here, which is a turner's chair from about 1600, 1620. It's made by a turner, not a chair maker, because everything is turned and then joined. We have another open tier cupboard here, which is from 1590, 1600, which also displayed silver or jugs at that time. The boxes in the room are also from the same period to store your valuables. We also have a beautiful blanket chest here, or lift top chest from 1600, where they used to store their blankets and other valuables. Remember, at this time, the man of the house sat on a beautiful Elizabethan wainscot chair. They were paneled, they were very heavy, but they were functional. Only the man of the home, the children or the wife of the home would sit on a stool, which we have right here. We have a nice early stool. These survived over the years because of their main construction. They're pegged and they're doweled. The rooms at this time were not painted white. They were usually wainscoted. They had all paneling carved or plain. And the bed at that time might have had curtains to keep the heat in because it was very cold at that time. We're going to take you now to the Charles II room where the furniture becomes much lighter. Thank you.
Hi, I'm here with George Way in the Charles II room. Mr. Way, tell us about this room and the beautiful things that we see. Where do we start?
Well, we can start with the beautiful portrait of Charles II. He was the King of England. He was in exile for many years and returned to the throne in 1660. What's interesting about this room is when you compare it to the Elizabethan room, furniture then was much heavier. Furniture now became much lighter. And this room is interesting because you have a portrait of Charles II's wife, Catherine of Braganza. We have a portrait of King Charles II's mother, Henrietta Maria, and Charles II's father, King Charles I, who was beheaded in 1649.
Where did you find all these terrific pieces?
Well, over the years, these pieces have been found at some antique shows, flea markets, and antique shops. Many of them have been mislabeled 19th century, when indeed they were 17th century. And being I was able to identify some of the sitters, I was very lucky to get a good buy.
How did you become so knowledgeable about antiques?
Well, spending thousands on a library of books, that's for sure. But actually going to a museum and seeing the real thing and studying how things were put together, the types of woods that we use, and to have a love and a passion for it, that's the main thing. If you don't love what you're doing, you're not going to become good at it.
Do you usually have experts look at these certain things, or do you associate with any appraisers or anything so that you know that you have an original piece?
Well, they usually come to me.
That's great. And how about the chairs? I see you have two different chairs. Did you get them in the same place, or are they a set, or?
Okay, we do have a pair of chairs here from 1660, but one interesting chair we have is one that's in the corner because it has the crown on it, and the identical make to that one is in the Victorian Albert Museum in London right now. And when you see the crown, that's a constant reminder that England now had a king of England.
And that other chair that we see on the corner there, what would that be?
This one here, that's another chair from the same period, and you see the body twist turning became a very typical pattern at that time during the reign of Charles II, and we had the shell and the acanthus leaf on the top for that motif instead of the crown. So you had a lot of different, types of carvings.
Okay. What room are you going to take us into now?
The William and Mary room, one of my favorites.
Okay, and when we come back, we'll have more of Charles Way and his exhibit at Snug Harbor.